All right, well, I'm very happy to get the chance to speak with Kelvin Fu. He's the Vice President of Honda Racing Corporation USA, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about IMSA and Indycar. Kelvin, how are you doing?
Doing great. It's been a long 2.5 weeks in Indy, but outcome was great, so happy to be in Detroit.
Yeah, the outcome definitely was great, but whole season's kind of been great. But I want to quickly touch on IMSA first. So HRC handles IMSA and IndyCar. IMSA's kind of been the Porsche Penske show, it seems. What have been the challenges there?
So, the nice thing about IMSA this year for HRC US, we got 2 cars with Meyershank.
Yes.
One of them is the 60 car, the other one was 93. And the 93 car, we're actually engineering the car. So we're the race engineer on it, strategist. So some of our people are actually running
so you're more deeply involved than...
We're much more deeply involved,
yeah.
which for us has been really exciting. So it's just been another step of development for engineers, and, being more part of the race team, has been a great experience for the factory and for the engineers for that side. And you're right, we've had good results. We podiumed at Daytona, podiumed at Sebring. So, it's been kind of a good progress for us. But yeah, this year, we'll see how today goes at Detroit.
Yeah. Opportunity.
A lot of it is just really good execution from them. It's a strong team, a strong lineup of competitors. So, you're not going to win every race, but all we could do is just maximize their chances. And you can point at a lot of things, but in the end, we just have to look internally and go, how do we improve? And that's all you can do.
Right. And, there's been a lot of success with Acura and IMSA over the last several years, especially at Daytona. Yeah. You guys have had a lot of really good runs. So not every year is going to be your year. So that's entirely logical. But then there's always that opportunity for improvement. And there does seem to be just that... it's such tightly controlled performance metrics that you have to meet, and dancing around those to maximize what you have is so critical. Yeah.
I mean, it is a different development race, than just pure power or pure aero, and everything's open. So, the engineers have to be very smart about where they apply their knowledge and their time. But again, it is down to, hey, pit stops, are they clean? Are the drivers maximizing it? Is their strategy good? Sometimes we can look back and go, yes. Sometimes we'll look back and go, we could do better. And that's what we're going to do. That's the nice thing about racing, right? Every few weeks, you're back up there. Yeah. And you're going to compete against, the best of the best. And then we just have to, get better every single time.
The Detroit race is definitely on the bumpy side. It's not the smoothest one on the calendar. Yeah. Is that something that you see as a potential advantage, or is that going to cause some additional challenges?
I think from a power control side, I think we're really good about power control, putting power down properly. From the IMSA side, I think that's an advantage for us, as we're going over all these bumps and making sure that, the tire doesn't spin too much. We're very tightly controlled by power, so you got to kind of maximize that. And then we've got great drivers. Right. I mean, how can you, maximize your setup, your suspension, for going around a really bumpy track, really tight too. Right. And then the passing opportunities are small, but, we showed last year you can still pass, and so we won it last year, and we were looking forward to doing it again.
Looking for a repeat. Yeah. Great. All right. Well, let's move on to IndyCar. You guys... And when I say you guys, I mean Honda, are 6 for 6 so far this season. Kind of incredible. It's been the Chip Ganassi Racing show, the Alex Palau show, Kyle Kirkwood getting a win in there, but everything powered by Honda. How do you attribute that? Obviously, competition has still been close, but are things just falling your way, or how would you quantify that?
I think it's been unprecedented for us, at least, to have won 6 in a row. I think 7 in a row, starting if you go back to the last race of last year.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But a lot of it is there was a ton of work in the off season from us and from the teams, right, to maximize both our track side, our street course and road course, but especially for Indy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, last year we were super disappointed in ourselves and what we brought. And, it was an incredible effort by everybody back at the factory and with the team to try to bring something better this year. And I think we're happy with what we brought. But, it's always so close. If not for maybe Pelot, having a good season, the results may be different.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, we can't, as we're super proud, we're happy, but we also know that, this isn't 100% just us, right? It is so much work by so many different people on the teams and the drivers, and racing's fickle, and something changes, and the results could be completely different at the start of the year. So all you can do, like I said, is just keep moving ahead, and then focus on the next race.
Well, there's a dichotomy that's going on. This engine, the core layout of this engine, is it 2.2 liter V6?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's been with us. It's been a dozen years now?
This is the 14th year.
14 year. So we're even past Baker's dozen here. So this is a highly refined, developed race engine. But then this is the first season with the hybrid attached to the back of it. Is there... Well, first of all, where does Honda have control? Because this is a third-party hybrid system, correct? So where does Honda have control to manipulate things, and where is it out of your hands?
So a lot of it is out of our hands. We actually supply the capacitor back.
Okay.
We build it.
But that's for everybody.
That's for everybody.
Yeah.
It is for everybody. We supply it to Indycar, basically. And then Chevy and Elmore supply the MGU. And then they attach it together, and it's the same part for every single car.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it is just like the Lara chassis, and it's just like, the gearbox, right? It's a spec part of the teams. But when it comes down to performance, a lot of that is going to go to the driver, right? So it is the drivers have to, and the teams have to figure out how do you regen and how do you deploy. A lot of that is manual, which is very different from IMSA. IMSA is very, very much controlled by, it's always in collaboration with the driver, but a lot of it is controlled kind of like underneath. You'll never see it. But here, it depends on the driver a lot.
Well, it functions very much like push to pass did
100%.
in the past, right?
Yeah.
But instead of using extra boost, you're using the hybrid system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And here you'll have both. You'll have push to pass and you'll have the hybrid system.
Oh, you still okay?
Yeah, and then push to pass with the engine is 200 seconds, but hybrid you can use as many times as you want.
Okay.
So a lot of times we run simulations and we give suggestions to the teams, but a lot of then it becomes...
like optimize use.
We will optimize lap time for the hybrids. Like, here's where you regen, here's where you deploy. And we'll give that to the teams. The teams run their own simulations, but then it really comes down to the driver.
I see.
It's super complicated because as they're running around a track, especially like Detroit, that's super tight, technical, and they're adjusting all their engine maps and their weight jackers and their bars. They also have to figure out, how do I regen? How do I deploy? Alex has talked about it at places like Barber, where you're trying to do it like 3 or 4 times a lap, and you got to do it perfectly every single time.
Right. What about integration? I mean, does Honda have any control about how the hybrid system integrates into the engine and work? Like, is it, because I assume it's sandwiched between the engine and the transmission. That's often the case.
Yes.
So does Honda have any control of how the system is integrated in, and like how to like smooth out power deployment from the system, or is there any control there, or is that all out of your hands?
As part of development, we ran it with our engine. Like, we have a chassis dyno, and you can have the whole thing running. So we've kind of worked our way through a lot of that integration already.
So engine controls can be adjusted to adapt to the hybrid system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think right now they're pretty separate. Actually, I don't know 100% how it's done. But I don't think we do a ton of our own engine management to help with the hybrid. I think they're kind of separate, and you can use them separately. But I don't know for sure, Rob.
I see.
Yeah. So
the irony to all of that is that, Honda is very heavily invested in hybrid system in its road cars. Mm-hmm. The 2-motor hybrid system is making its way to more and more products. Right. I was actually pretty surprised that the new 4th generation Passport, I think it's 4th generation, 3rd generation, either way, the newest Passport, the 2026 Passport, does not have a hybrid system. That actually surprised me. Is there anything that HRC can learn that Honda Motor Company can adapt to its hybrid systems? Is there any overlap at all where you can learn from racing to apply to the road car?
So I think yes. I can't get into too many details, but we've done a lot of development, especially on the LMDH side, where we've integrated. That's a much more integrated powertrain.
So the IMSA side potentially has more learning.
Right. Okay. And we've done a lot of work there, and we've presented it. There's technical, workshops and presentations across all of Honda. And we've done that with some of the work we've done on the integration and the control side. And there's been interest from the in Japan to take that and maybe move forward with it too. So I think what's really interesting is racing's changed. Like 5 or 10 years ago, it was mostly ICE. Yeah. And I think there wasn't a ton of interest in pulling that because there'd been so much work and money put into production internal combustion engines.
Yes.
Now with hybrids and these new technologies, like we're playing with it in a kind of like a fast deployment, harsh environment. And I think there's now more interest from production side to say, hey, look, you guys are doing something maybe interesting. Let's take a look at it. The Indycar hybrids with the supercapacitors, there's also interest there too, right? Because it's a fairly new technology.
Yeah.
And the application, it's unclear where it's going to go on the production side, but we're doing it. So I think there's a lot of people paying attention to that too.
Okay. Yeah, because it's one of those fascinating things where for decades and decades and decades, racing led automotive in terms of tech. But then as electrification came on, it kind of flipped, where automotive was getting the new tech and now racing's trying to adapt. Right. But as you say, there's no truer, harsher environment than racing, and I feel like there's learning. But then it's a third-party setup, and it is ultimately a third-party setup in IMSA as well, is it not?
It is. It's a spec hybrid system, but the integration and the software's open.
Oh, I see.
It's our engine. It's their hybrid, but the software to control the whole thing, including the braking system, is completely open.
I see.
So that's why, like, all the engineers are like, woohoo!
Yes.
It is a dream for our chassis side. About how do you actually control the car when you have control. You have control over so much of the parameters.
Yeah, I mean, you can induce moments into the chassis, can't you?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
So I think for that point of view, it's very much, it's not F1 level, but it's 70% of an F1 in terms of like how much control we have over the performance of the car.
Is IMSA capacitor as well, or is that a battery?
That's a battery.
That's a battery.
That's a high voltage battery.
So that almost is more applicable as well.
Yeah, I think from that side, it's definitely applicable to the production side.
Yeah.
Car side. I think with IndyCar, it's because the focus is very much on driver usage.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, it's like, hey, it's new technology with supercapacitors. There's definitely growth path there, and more energy. We can move forward with it, and it's like a new technology that, is there applicable to production cars? Like, I think that there's some ideas, but it's not clear yet. But at least we're working with it in a way that if anybody at Honda ever said, I need this application or for short burst energy usage, we have that experience with it too.
Yeah. Well, how are you feeling about Detroit? Both races, IMSA and IndyCar. Looks like it's going to be a cooler than average Detroit Grand Prix. Make you happy? Make you nervous?
I think it's hard to say. Like everybody says, we'll make more power at cooler, but so will the other side. Yeah. So it depends on what that package is. For here, like the aero is not as important. It's all about mechanical setup and traction and power delivery and drivability, and I think we're pretty good about that. From a power side too.
Yeah.
So it'll be exciting.
Okay. Well, Kelvin, I am looking forward to the IMSA hybrid system being in the Civic in the next couple of years, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Take care.